Good day, everyone. I am Lizal Arla Jaguno, a first reporter from Group 6. I am going to discuss to you the first five sections of Republic Act number 8545. But first, what is the coverage of this Republic Act? So Republic Act number 8545 was approved on February 24, 1998, Republic of the Philippines, Congress of the Philippines, Metro Manila. An act amending Republic Act number 6728, otherwise known as an act providing government assistance to students and teachers in private education and appropriating funds therefore, establishing a fund for the purpose of subsidizing salaries of private school teachers and appropriating funds therefore. So one of the many legislations which broaden access to education is Republic Act number 6728 as amended by Republic Act number 8545, which provides government assistance to students and teachers in the private education in the form of supplements in their tuition fees. And next, section 1. Republic Act number 6728, otherwise known as the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. It is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 1, Title. This act shall be known as the Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act. So the Department of Education, or DepEd, through this program, provides financial assistance to students and teachers in order to improve access to quality education and decolonize the public schools. Number 2 is Section 2. Declaration of Policy. It is a declared policy of the state in conformity with the mandate of the Constitution to promote and make quality education accessible to all Filipino citizens. The state also hereby recognizes the complementary rules of public and private educational institutions in the educational system and the invaluable contribution that the private schools have made and will make to education. For these purposes, the state shall provide mechanisms to improve quality in private education by maximizing the use of existing resources of private education, recognizes in the process the government's responsibility to provide basic elementary and secondary education, post-secondary vocational and technical education, and higher education as having priority over its other functions. Elementary education is the first 6 years of basic education, excluding preschool and grade 7, the completion of which is attested by a certificate issued by or with permission of the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Secondary education is the next 4 years of basic education, the completion of which is attested by a high school diploma issued by or with permission of the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Post-secondary education may be education and training in non-degree vocational and technical courses offered in post-secondary vocational and technical institutions or educational in degree courses offered by higher educational institutions, the completion of which are attested by a certificate or diploma issued by or with permission of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA or the Commission on Higher Education or CHED respectively. It is clearly stated that the state declared this policy in accordance with the mandate of the Constitution. The purpose of declaration is to promote and make quality education accessible to all Filipino citizens, including elementary education, which contains of 6 years of basic education, excluding preschool and grade 7, which the completion is attested by a certificate issued by DepEd Culture and Sports, and secondary education that contains 4 years of basic education, which the completion is attested and by a high school diploma issued by DepEd Culture and Sports, and vocational and technical courses, which the completion is attested by a certificate or diploma issued by TESDA or CHED. Next is Section 3. Criteria for assistance. The programs for assistance shall be based on a set of criteria which shall include, among others, tuition fees charged by the schools, the socio-economic needs of each region giving priority to the social reform agenda, SRA provinces, overall performance of the schools, the academic qualifications, and the financial needs of the students and the teachers, and the financial needs of the schools, as well as the geographic spread and size of student population. In addition to the foregoing criteria, within such reasonable time as the respective state assistance council may determine, student grantees under the private education student financial assistance program shall be enrolled in schools which have accredited programs or are applying for accreditation as may be recognized by the respective state assistance council. Preference shall be given to students whose family income is not more than 72,000 pesos or such amounts as may be determined by the respective councils as defined hereinafter. For purposes of this Act, programs of assistance to students and teachers of private post-secondary and vocational and technical institutions and higher educational institutions shall likewise be extended to students and teachers of community degree colleges in degree and non-degree programs. Implementation of the program shall encourage students to undergo post-secondary vocational and technical and higher education courses in the same region where their families reside. The programs of assistance under this Act shall be extended only to students who are citizens of the Philippines. The State Assistance Council, jointly with the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, or DEX, the CHED and the TESDA, shall formulate measurement standards for the evaluation of the quality of courses as the standing and status of the recipient institutions. Within 5 years from the approval of this Act, the assistance shall be given to schools, provided that the present allocation of the tuition fee and other income of the schools shall be used in the same proportion and allocation as provided by law. So in general, assistance shall be based on tuition fees charged by the schools, the socio-economic needs of each region, the overall performance of the schools in the academic qualifications, and the financial needs of the student, the teachers, as well as the schools. A favor shall be given to students whose family income is not more than 72,000 pesos and a Filipino citizen. This program was implemented to encourage students to undergo post-secondary vocational and technical and higher education courses in the same region where their families reside. The assistance shall be given to schools within 5 years from the approval of this Act. Next, Section 4. Forms of assistance. Assistance to private education shall consist of assistance to students and assistance to teachers. The following are forms of assistance to students in private education. First, tuition fees supplements for students in private high schools, including students in vocational and technical courses. So students in private high schools, including students take vocational and technical courses such as a 1-year basic course in interior design, 2 years deep computer-based accountancy, 2 years food and beverage services in situ, and many more, shall be given tuition fee supplements. Second is High School Textbook Assistance Fund. Provided that the textbook assistance per student in private high schools shall be determined by the council and shall not exceed what students in public high schools are provided on a per-student basis under a comprehensive textbook program of the Secondary Education Development Program. Provided further that the textbook assistance shall be granted only to beneficiaries of tuition fee supplements and educational service contracting scheme provided in this Act. So those who are beneficiaries of tuition fee supplements must only be given textbook assistance or shall be granted a textbook assistance. So next is number 3. Expansion of the existing Educational Service or ESC scheme. So Educational Service Contracting Scheme is a partnership program by the DepEd which aims to increase access to quality basic education at the secondary level of extending financial assistance from the public budget to the poor but deserving elementary school graduates to attend private high schools that have contracted with the government. Next is number 4. The voucher system of the Private Education Student Financial Assistance Program or PESFA. It is the program that aims to extend financial assistance to marginalized but deserving students and technical vocational education and training or TVET courses, and to assist private institutions in their development efforts by assuring a steady supply of enrollees to their course offerings. So next is number 5. Scholarship grants to students graduating as valedictorians and salutatorians from secondary schools. So scholarship is granted to students in all undergraduate programs of study. The grant is given for semester only and is reviewed every semester. It may be renewed upon evaluation of the student's academic performance and fulfillment of responsibilities as a university scholar. Number 6. Tuition fees supplements to students in private colleges and universities, providing financial assistance to students in private colleges and universities for their tuition fee. Number 7 is Education Loan Fund. Education Loan Fund, it is a sum of money borrowed to finance post-secondary education or higher education related expenses. Education loans are intended to cover the cost of tuition, books, and supplies and living expenses, while the borrower is in the process of pursuing a degree. Payments are often deferred while students are in college and depending on the lender, sometimes they are deferred for an additional 6 months period after earning a degree. The following are forms of assistance to teachers and faculty in private education. Number 1, in-service training fund for teachers in private high schools. So it is intended to support the development and conduct of professional development programs for public school teachers and school leaders at the SDO level. The main purpose of in-service training is to ensure efficiency in the work of public officials in an effective and efficient public administration. The personnel that have renewed and educated themselves according to the requirements of the age are needed. Next is Faculty Development Fund. Faculty Development Fund. So it is used solely for the purpose of contributing directly to teaching in research and creative work. All full-time faculty members will receive an annual fund which can be used for travel for conferences, research sites, festival, professional needs, and etc. They may not, however, be used to the cost of courses taken as part of a degree program or for credit at another institutions. The Faculty Development Fund may not be used to directly compensate any immersed faculty members, staff, or student. It may be used to hire outside to help that directly supports research such as translators, transcribers, and etc. So next, section 5. Tuition fees supplements for students in private high schools. First, financial assistance for tuition for students in private high schools shall be provided by the government through a voucher system in the following manner. A. For students enrolled in schools charging an amount as may be determined by the State Assistance Council. The government shall provide them with a voucher in such an amount as may be determined by the Council, provided that the government shall reimburse the vouchers from the schools concerned within 120 days from the close of the registration period. So the beneficiaries of this program shall be provided a voucher as may be determined in the council, and the government shall repay the vouchers from the school concerned within 120 days from the close of the registration period. Number two is assistance under paragraph. First, subparagraph A shall be guaranteed to all private high schools participating in the program for a number of slots as of the effectivity of this act as the total number of students who availed of tuition fee supplements for school year 1997 to 1998, provided that the State Assistance Council may in subsequent years determine additional slots and or additional participating high schools as may be deemed necessary. So in every year, it is expected that anyone can avail in this program depending on the slots and the qualification of it. And that's all about the 5 sections, and the rest sections 6 to 20 will be discussed by my group mates.
Good morning everyone, I am Novi Morales Gaitan, and this morning I am going to tackle about the Republic Act number 8545, Section 6 up to Section 10. Republic Act number 8545, Section 6 up to Section 10. Section 6. High School Textbook Assistance Fund. There shall be established in the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports or DEX a High School Textbook Assistance Fund, so that assistance on a per student basis shall be given to students enrolled in private schools exclusively for the purchase of the high school textbook in the support of the implementation of the Secondary Education Development Program, provided that the textbook assistance per students in private high schools shall be determined by the council and shall not exceed what students in public high schools provided on per students basis. Provided further that the textbook assistance shall be granted only to beneficiaries of tuition fee supplements and educational service contracting. So Section 6, it is the High School Textbook Fund. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, or DEX, established a high school textbook fund for the assistance of students who enrolled in private schools, provided that the assistance of textbook per student shall be determined or monitored by the schools or council, and the textbook they receive shall not be exceed of what the students in public high schools given per students. Next one is Section number 7. Expansion of the existing Educational Service Constructing or ESC scheme. A. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, or DEX, shall continue to enter into contracts with private schools whereby the government shall shoulder the tuitions and other fees of high school students who shall enroll in private high schools under this program. B. The government shall also enter into contracts with private schools in communities where there are no public high schools, in which case the department shall shoulder the tuitions and other fees of students who shall enroll in that said private schools. C. The amount of assistance to be given by the government under this section shall not exceed that determined as per students' cost in public high schools. D. The department shall fully pay the subsidized amount to participating schools not later than 180 days from the close of the registration period. E. the amount assistance shall be allotted and distributed among the 16 regions in proportion to the total population as well as high school age population for the first school year, provided that the starting school in 1998 equalization scheme shall be implemented by the State Assistance Council. F. The amount of assistance to the private high schools participating in the program shall be guaranteed for a number of slots as the effectivity of this act as the number of students availing of the educational service contracting assistance for the school year in 1997 up to 1998, provided that the State Assistance Council may in subsequent years determine additional slots and or additional participating private high schools as may be deemed necessarily. Section number 7, known as the expansion of existing educational service contracting or ESC scheme. It consists of, first is A. The Department of Education, Culture and Sports or DEX contacts the private schools because the government shoulder the tuition and fees of students who enrolled in private schools, and in community there is no public high schools, only private, the government also shoulder the tuition fees and of students who enrolled in that certain schools or private schools. Next is the amount of assistance given by the government of the students shall not exceed to the cost of per students in public high schools. For example, the tuition fees of public high school is 7,000 per semester. The government give 7,500 to the students who enrolled in private schools that the same amount. Next one is the government shall fully pay the subsidized amount like 7,500 as what I said earlier per semester to provide schools where the students enrolled not later or less than exceed of 180 days from the registration period. Next is the assistance amount shall be allocated and distributed among 16 regions, including us in Region 9, and given proportionally to the total population of the first 4 years. Next is the amount of assistance to private high schools who avail in this program shall be guaranteed for the number of slots of the students who avail the assistance for the school year of 1997 up to 1998, and the State Assistance Council follow and determine the additional slots and additional students in private high schools because there are some students who might get transferred or drop out or stop their studies. Next one is the Section number 8, Assistance to College Freshmen. A. The voucher system of private education students financial assistance or PESPA program. The existing private education student financial assistance or PESPA program, which covers degree and non-degree, vocational and non-vocational courses, shall be expanded so that all qualified enrolling first-year students can benefit from a scholarship plus an allowance. Such financial assistance shall be granted to deserving and privileged students who shall be selected on the basis of family income, geographic spread, and results of competitive examinations to be given by the CHED for degree courses and TESDA for non-degree, vocational, or technical school courses in all secondary schools in coordinations with the DEX. The program shall be equitably allocated to provinces and cities in accordance with regional and national plans to priority courses as determined by the CHED and the TESDA. For purpose of this act, the unprivileged students shall refer to as students whose gross income, if any, and that of the combined annual gross income of his or her parents do not exceed 72,000 pesos. B. Tuition waiver. Private post-secondary, vocational and technical institutions and higher education institutions shall provide for full or half tuition waivers for 5% of the entering freshmen, which shall include, among others, valedictorians and salutatorians of both public high schools and private high schools, provided that those valedictorians and salutatorians meet admission tests of the schools concerned. C. Allowance for valedictorians. Subject to rules and regulations as may be promulgated by the State Assistance Council, valedictorians refers to under a subparagraph above may, in addition to tuition waivers granted by the school concerned, be entitled to such allowances from the government as are provided to PESPA grantees, provided they shall enroll in the priority courses. D. Allowance for other honorees. In case the graduating class is composed of more than 250 students, all salutatorians and first honorable mentions graduates thereof may also be entitled to the allowance granted to valedictorian under the preceding paragraph. Section number 8, known as the assistance to college freshmen. First is the voucher system of private education and student financial assistance or PESPA program. The existing PESPA program covers degree and non-degree, which is either a vocational or technical courses, shall be expanded to that qualified first-year student can benefit scholarship and allowance. But that financial assistance are those deserving and qualified students whose family's income does not exceed of 72,000 combined income annually and pass the competitive examinations given by the CHED, TISDA, or for the non-degree courses. Next is the tuition waiver. All entering freshmen in college, including valedictorians and salutatorians, shall provided a 5% or for full tuitions or half tuition waivers given by the government, even if they came from both public high schools and private high schools, but those valedictorians and salutatorians shall meet the admission test which is given by that certain schools of that school or that schools. Next is the allowance for the valedictorians. As for valedictorians, they are not just only avail the privilege of full or half tuitions given by the schools, but also they can receive allowance, provided that the voucher systems of private education of students' financial assistance or PESFA, they are also provided the priority courses or their courses that they want to be in the near future. Next is the allowance for other honorees. So, if the graduating class is composed of 250 students, all salutatorians and first honorable mentions may also have allowance and granted of what valedictorians privilege is. So they can choose courses what they like, and also they can receive allowance as what valedictorians receive. Next is the section number 9, further assistance to students in private colleges and universities. Tuition fee supplement for students of private post-secondary vocational and technical institutions and higher educational institutions enrolled in the priority course programs determined by the TESDA and the CHED shall be provided by the government through voucher systems of the following manner. For students in priority programs in schools charging an effective per unit tuition rate of such amount as may be determined by the State Assistance Council, the government shall provide the students with a voucher for the for the amount of tuition fee supplement determined by the State Assistance Council. Government assistance of tuition increase as described in the sections shall be governed by the same conditions as provided under Section 5 number. Section number 9. Further assistance to students in private college and universities. So, tuition fee for students of private post-secondary vocational and technical institutions and higher education institution enrolled in the priority courses determined by the CHED or TESDA through the voucher system. So, the students in the priority programs in their schools, their tuition rate is determined by the State Assistance Council, and the government provide the tuition fee of that said amount with the voucher. So, the government assistance and tuition fee increase as prescribed of the government under the Section 5, which is in the same condition. Next is the section number 10, Education Loan Fund. A. Study Now, Pay Later Plan. There is hereby created a special fund to be known as the Students' Loan Fund to be administered by the CHED and the TESDA or upon delegations by the CHED by the Student Loan Fund Authority created under the Republic Act number 6014, which is hereby reinstituted pursuant to the terms of the same Republic Act, which shall be used to the finance of education loans to the cover of the matriculations and other school fees for the books, lodgings, and tuitions. B. The amount covering payments for tuitions and other school fees shall be paid directly to the schools concerned. C. Any loan granted under this section shall be paid by the student debtor after he has finished the course profession of which he proceeds of the loan was expended, but only after a period of 2 years from the time he has acquired an employment, provided, however, the interest at the rate of not more than 6% per annum shall be accrued on balance. D. Social Security Fund. Social Security system shall make available no interest education loans to its members and provide education institutions for school buildings and or improvement of their plans and facilities. Section number 10. So, it is known as the Education Loan Fund. First, Study Now, Pay Later Plan. So, they created a financial fund known as the Student Loan Fund to be administered by the CHED or TESDA under the Republic Act 6014, which is hereby reinstituted pursuant, which shall use for financial education loans to cover the matriculations, school fees, and educational experiences for books, lodgings, and boarding. So, it is loan for the students where they can use to pay their fees, matriculations, for lodgings, boarding houses, and whatsoever. But, next is the amount of tuition fee and other school fees shall be paid directly to the school. So, since the loan for them to pay their tuitions, but the tuition fees shall be the tuition fees, the students cannot receive that one. It is directly paid by the school. Next one is a loan granted shall be paid by the student debtor after he or she only after 2 years from the time he has acquired employment, and the interest at that rate are not more than 6% per year and shall occur the balance. So next is since that certain students have loan, he or she acquired to pay that after she can have work after 2 years of his or her employment. So they are obliged to pay in that certain loan after the acquired job. And the interest of that is 6% per year, and it must be balanced. So there's no bias that one. Next is the Social Security Fund. The Social Security system shall make available low interest for educational loans to its members and to private educational institutions, to schools, buildings, and improvement of their plans and facilities. So the Social Security system, they provide loans for for the schools where for them for them to use to improve their facilities, buildings, and also their planting trees or whatsoever organizations that the teachers or the schools are going to build. And that would be all. Thank you.
Hello everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Jovelyn Savero Florentino. So now let's proceed to my report. Republic Act number 8545, February 24, 1998. So, section number 11. The right of any student to avail himself or herself of the benefits under this act shall not apply if he or she fails for 1 school year in the majority of the academic subjects in which he or she has enrolled during the course of his or her study, unless such failure is due to some valid cause beyond his or her control. So, the right to participate in curricular activities, the right to be respected as a person with human dignity, to full physical, social, intellectual, and moral development, healthful conditions of learning, the right to enjoy academic freedom. So, section number 12. In-Service Training Fund or NSET Fund. For the purpose of improving the quality of teaching in private secondary education, there is hereby established in the Department of Education, Culture and Sports an NSET Fund to provide the upgrading of knowledge and teaching competencies in critical subjects areas and for the modernization of teaching techniques and strategies, including training in the use of computers and of other multimedia educational technologies to assess instruction, provided that the NSET Fund shall be available only to qualified licensed teachers in participating private high school as determined by the State Assistant Council. Provided further that the amount of NSET Fund available to private secondary education shall not exceed that available to public secondary education on an per capita basis. The In-Service Training or NSET Fund is intended to support the development and conduct of professional development programs for public school teachers and school leaders at the SDO level. In-service training means short-term or part-time training for the administrators, teacher aides, paraprofessionals, or other education personnel engaged in bilingual institution programs for children of limited English-speaking ability. So, section number 13. College Faculty Development Fund. For the purpose of improving the quality of teaching in private post-secondary vocational and technical institution and higher educational institutions, there is hereby established in the TISDA and the SHED a College Faculty Development Fund to provide for scholarship for graduate degree and non-degree workshops or seminar for faculty members in private post-secondary vocational and technical institution and higher educational institutions, provided that faculty members recipients of such scholarship shall serve as many number of years return service for every year of scholarship availed for of as may be determined by the State Assistance Council in conformity and with prevailing National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA facilities on return service of government scholars. The scholarship shall be in priority courses as determined by the TISDA and the CHED, and cannot be awarded to promote or inhibit sectarian purposes. So, faculty development fund supports institutes, workshops, seminar, short courses, or other non-credit coursework to improve teaching skills, refresh and broaden expertise in a particular content area, and or retrain faculty members in new areas of expertise. So, Section 14, Teacher's Salary Subsidy Fund. A teacher's salary subsidy fund is hereby established in the DEX to grant government subsidy to teachers in private high schools participating in the programs of assistance provided in this Act, provided that the total monthly salary, which includes the subsidy to be received by such private high schools teachers, shall not be more than 80% of the salary of his counterpart in the public sector, provided further that the amount of monthly subsidy shall not exceed the amount of any monthly salary increase that teachers in public high school shall offer after the effectivity of this Act hereinafter receive, provided further that private high school teachers qualified to receive subsidy under these Acts are duly licensed by the Professional Regulation Commission, provided further that the government shall provide with them with a voucher for the salary subsidy, which shall be directly to the teachers within 60 days after the close of the school year upon submission of proof of qualification and actual teaching service in a participating private high schools, provided further that the present allocation out of increases from tuition and other income shall be maintained, provided finally that in case of insufficiency of funds, priority shall be given to married teachers supporting a family. So, teacher's salary subsidy is a program where an annual government subsidy is provided to qualified teachers in ESC participating. Such teachers are called TSS recipients. The Private Education Assistance Committee has been contracted by the DepEd to administer the ESC and TSS programs. So, section number 15. Program administrations or rules and regulations. The State Assistance Council shall be responsible for facility guidance and direction, monitoring and evaluation of new and existing programs, and the promulgation of the rules and regulations, while the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, the TISDA and the CHED, shall be responsible for the day-to-day administration and program implementation for the programs of assistance to private secondary education, post-secondary vocational and technical education, and higher education, respectively. Likewise, it may engage the services and supports of any qualified government or private entity for its implementation. So their duties include working through the daily administrative tasks for a program such as finding, training, and helping staff complete program objectives, managing an office setting to ensure documents and other materials are secure and accessible, and managing budgets for a program to ensure it has the amount of funding it needs. They may also create strategy plans for implementing new projects, direct other professionals for specific tasks, and set key performance indicators and goals for tracking the progress of the company's program or initiative.
Good day everyone, this is Renegine Laurentiana from BSED English 1 and I'm going to report my assigned topic, which is Republic Act number 8545 from section 16 up to section 20. Section 16 Appropriations. The amount needed to implement these programs shall be provided for in the Annual General Appropriations Act for the year 1998. The appropriation of 1 billion pesos already appropriated under the General Appropriations Act of 1998 shall be used for this purpose. All funds appropriated for this purpose shall be constituted as a trust fund to be administered by the State Assistant Council, which shall be directly and automatically released to the different regional offices of the DICS. Section 17. Penalties. In case of violation of the provisions of this Act or the rules and regulations promulgated pursuant thereto by an institution, the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, the TISDA and the CHED, upon the recommendation of the Council, may bar the institution from participating in or benefiting from the programs of this Act and from other programs of the Department, without prejudice to administrative and criminal charges as may be filed against the school and or its responsible officers under existing laws. Section 18. Repealing Clause. All laws and decrees, particularly Presidential Decree number 932 and 1371, and such letters of instructions, rules and regulations or parts thereof which are inconsistent with this Act are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. By the way, Presidential Decree number 932 states that it is further democratizing educational opportunities, promoting the study now, pay later plan, and specifying various schemes for its implementation. While Presidential Decree number 1371, amending certain sections of Presidential Decree number 932, otherwise known as the Educational Assistance Act of 1976. Section 19. Separability Clause. If any provision of this Act is declared unconstitutional, the same shall not affect the validity and effectivity of the other provisions not affected thereby. Section 20. Effectivity Clause. This Act shall take effect immediately upon its publication in English in an English newspaper and in Filipino in a Filipino newspaper, both of general circulation, provided that the implementation of new programs of assistance provided in this Act shall be effective in the school year of the succeeding fiscal year within which the appropriations necessary to implement the new programs shall have been approved into law. And lastly, Section 2. Effectivity Clause. This Act shall take effect immediately upon its publication in English in an English newspaper and in Filipino in a Filipino newspaper, both of general circulation. That's all. Thank you.